So, how much am I worth? 100 grand? Dead or alive? Well, this is the bounty you will not collect.
Welcome to Rewind, a closer look. And this time we're taking on 1993's Bounty Tracker, a hard-nosed early 90s action flick starring Lorenzo Lamas at full video store peak.
I'm hoping somebody recognizes me.
This is one of those movies that lived squarely in that era, where action stars were stoic, villains were professional psychos, and every problem could be solved with fists, bullets, or a bounty receipt. It's gritty, meaner than it looks, and absolutely loaded with martial arts fights, gunplay, and that unmistakable straight-to-video confidence. No gloss, no irony, just a working-class action movie that knows exactly what it's here to do. After a full 2 minutes of black screen opening credits, the movie finally decides to start. We're in Boston, at night, inside a club, where a group of men are sitting around drinking and casually pointing guns at people. You know the type. And somehow, no one seems to be alarmed by this. At the door, a well-dressed guy with a British accent is trying to get past the doorman, well, door lady in this case. It's very obviously Lorenzo Lamas, and he's clearly undercover, or in disguise, or doing something. She eventually lets him in. Once inside, Lamas wanders the club for a bit, casually passes the table of armed goons, and heads into the bathroom. He pulls out a metal flask like he's about to take a drink, but instead smoke starts pouring out of it. He tosses it into a trash can, which for some reason does not have a trash bag in it. And as the bathroom fills with smoke, Lamas calmly pulls a fire alarm. Can't say as I've ever seen a fire alarm inside a bathroom, but sure, why not? He grabs a fire extinguisher, running out yelling fire, and the entire club immediately evacuates. Everyone leaves, except for the two armed guys from the table. They sense something's not right and confront Lamas. A fight breaks out, and in classic early 90s fashion, the guys politely wait their turn to get beaten up. As Lamas cuffs one of them, the cops arrive, and they clearly know him. Lamas hands over the suspect, and we finally learn the deal. He's not a cop at all. He's a bounty hunter. And the guy's in cuffs is worth $15,000. Lamas casually mentions he's going to use the money to pay off his car, because priorities. Now the movie jumps from Boston to Los Angeles and lands us inside a busy accounting office. One of the firm's owners, Marty Silk, is on the phone with a detective and already sounds stressed. He complains that his partner should be there helping him deal with this situation. The detective calmly makes sure Silk has all the paperwork ready for their meeting later that afternoon, and says he wants to look at records connecting to a company called Gildex. He also wants to speak with Silk's partner, Paul Damone, before the grand jury hearing scheduled for the following week. Silk agrees to everything. They hang up, and the tension is very clear. Outside the office, a truck is parked with several people dressed in black sitting inside. One of them is watching the building through binoculars as Paul Damone walks into the office. Once he confirms both partners are inside, he says, "That's all of them," and they flip through surveillance photos of the office staff. Weapons come out. This is not a wellness visit. And this is where we get our first real look at the muscle running the show, Eric Goss, played by Matthias Hues. You may not know the name, but you absolutely know the face. He's one of those classic action movie villains. You may know him from such movies as Dark Angel or
I come in peace.
or Digital Man.
In our distant future, a military machine designed to prevent war.
Digital Man is the model of the perfect soldier.
Back inside, Silk and Paul talk about the hearing and how completely screwed they are. They admit they've been cooking the books for some very dangerous people, laundering money through Gildex. The $50,000 upfront payment was apparently too good to pass up. Regret has officially arrived. Goss and his crew, a couple guys and one woman, enter the office and immediately start executing everyone. And somehow, every single time they encounter a new employee, that person is completely surprised. Like, did you not hear the automatic gunfire happening 10 feet away? The only guy that does hear it tries to call the cops and is killed the exact second the call connects.
Missed it by that much.
Paul managed to stay hidden while Marty Silk is shot. crew grabs the discs the detective wanted, wipes all the hard drives, and cleans the place out like they've done this before. A 911 dispatcher sends a nearby patrol car to check out a possible disturbance. As Paul tries to escape out the back, Goss spots him and gives chase. At the exact same time, the police cruiser pulls up behind the building, which raises the question of why the cops decided to check the back door first, but that's a mystery for another day. They order Goss to put his hands up. He complies for about 30 seconds, then he easily beats both cops. The gang's truck pulls up, Goss hops aboard, and they disappear. Job done. Paul Damone is at the police station where the detective lays out the situation. With the Gildex files missing and Paul's partner dead, Paul is now one of only 2 remaining witnesses. The detective explains that Luis Sarrazin is currently in jail, so they can't immediately tie the murders or the stolen evidence to him, which strongly suggests Sarrazin is the movie's real big bad. It turns out Paul's partner has been helping Sarrazin launder money through Gildex, and the detective is convinced that Paul's testimony will put Sarrazin away for good. Paul agrees to help however he can. That's when the detective's partner steps in and assures him,
We will fully protect you. I'll personally supervise it.
which in movie language means Paul is either about to be killed due to staggering incompetence, or this guy is secretly working for Sarrazin and will kill him himself. Place your bets. That evening, Lorenzo Lamas arrives in Los Angeles and heads to a house. When he reaches the door, he's immediately intercepted by 2 men who stop, search, and question him. We learn Lamas is Paul's brother, Jonathan, and once that's established, they let him inside. Paul fills him in on everything that's happened. He explains that he isn't the only witness. Sarrazin's ex-partner, Jerry Greco, is also set to testify, and the police have him stashed somewhere else. Paul's wife shows up shortly after. She appears to be pregnant, or at least possibly pregnant. The movie never really says anything about it. Around the same time, the same white truck we saw earlier quietly pulls up around the corner. The gang piles out. Inside the house, Lamas and Paul's wife go upstairs. She shows him where he'll be staying and then heads down to her own room and turns on some music, because this is clearly the best time for that. Outside, the gang loads their weapons, and the female member snipes out one of Paul's guards without warning. The remaining guard outside is captured, dragged to the front door, and forced to knock while calling out his own name. When the guards inside open the door, they are all immediately killed. And for the second time in this movie, Paul somehow escapes a room that is actively being shot to pieces. The gang splits up and begins searching the house for Paul, who is hiding in the kitchen like this is suddenly Jurassic Park.
What is it? It's a velociraptor. It's inside.
One of the goons opens a door, not realizing Lamas is waiting on the other side. That turns out to be a very bad decision. Lamas and the goon fight for a while and spill out into the hallway. It's dark. So dark that I just genuinely wish someone had just turned on the lights for this scene. The goon pulls a knife, Lamas makes him drop it, and then casually tosses him down the stairs, which alerts the other guys that are downstairs. The guy rushes up, Lamas dives, grabs the fallen goon's gun, and shoots him. At this point, everyone in the house knows exactly where Lamas is. The female gang member starts spraying bullets up the stairwell. This is when Paul's wife decides to leave the safety of her room to see what's going on. And yes, she gets shot. And just to really hammer home that Lamas is now fully committed to killing Sarrazin, Goss finds Paul and kills him too. With the gang's mission complete, they regroup, pile back into the truck, and drive off like this was just another job. Back at the police station, Lamas is looking through slides of the gang members responsible for killing his brother and sister-in-law when Goss's photo comes up. The detective explains exactly who he is, a cop killer, wanted for over a dozen murders and carrying a $100,000 bounty on his head. Convenient information, considering we already know a bounty hunter. The detective immediately tells Lamas not to get involved. He can't risk anything interfering with his case against Sarrazin, which is a fair request, and one that has absolutely no chance of being followed. As Lamas storms out of the building, we see him casually grab the wanted posters of the men who killed his brother. Meanwhile, Goss and the female gang member pull up outside a prison. She heads inside pretending to be Sarrazin's attorney and meets with him face to face. They talk about the hit on the accounting office and Paul, confirming that only Sarrazin's former partner is left. She then informs Sarrazin that they want their payment, $1 million in diamonds. Cash is temporary, diamonds are forever.
Diamonds are forever.
Later that night, Lamas checks into a hotel. He spreads out wanted posters and 2 sketches he's made, one of a knife, the other of a distinctive tattoo worn by one of the goons. He has a brief flashback, then starts flipping through the phone book, looking up tattoo parlors. Once he finds the one he wants, he rips the page out, because apparently no one else staying in that hotel room is ever allowed to call a tattoo shop. Out in the middle of nowhere, the 3 remaining gang members are holed up in a trailer, discussing how much of a badass Lamas is.
You were right. Dude was Damone's brother.
Jonathan Damone. Ex-Marine, ex-cop, black belt in Aikido, current profession, recovery agent.
I'm bounty tracker. No wonder the dude was so good.
Why, just because he kicked your ass?
Hey, enough. Now we know who he is.
Finalizing their plan to go after Sarazen's ex-partner. The female gang member then heads to a police station and casually sticks a tracking device on a patrol car's bumper. No one notices. No one ever notices. Lamas spends the day visiting tattoo parlors. You think there might be more than one page of tattoo shops in Los Angeles, and that maybe the odds of finding the exact right one, with the exact right guy working that day, would be slim. But no, he finds a place that recognizes the tattoo. The artist explains that about a year ago, a guy in a wheelchair came in wanting it removed. Lama slips the guy some cash, and the tattoo artist immediately pulls out his Rolodex and hands over the guy's home address. Which raises the question, why does a tattoo artist have a former client's home address just sitting in his Rolodex? Sure, it's helpful information. Lamas heads to the address and knocks for a while. When no one answers, he tries the handle, and the door suddenly flies open. A man in a wheelchair is inside, pointing a shotgun directly at him. Lamas calmly explains that he just wants to talk, and that he was informed that he knows Eric Goss. The man cocks the shotgun. Lamas disarms him, walks inside, removes the shells, and then hands the gun back, which is either confidence or insanity. Possibly both. The two talk about their shared history with Goss. He's the reason the man is in a wheelchair. He tried to leave the gang, and Goss made sure he'd never walked again. Lamas notices a photo on the wall of Goss and the man together at a dojo. The guy confirms that Goss is a highly skilled martial artist and now works as a hired gun. Lamas wants to know where he can find him. The man refuses to help, and just then a kid walks in and points a gun at Lamas, because this scene apparently needed one more threat. Lamas calmly gives the wheelchair-bound man his phone number in case he changes his mind and leaves. Lamas heads to the dojo he spotted on the photo. Once inside, he asks if Eric Goss ever trained there. The guy says, "Let me go ask," which is kind of a weird response, then immediately goes and calls Goss. Goss tells him to keep Lamas busy until the female goon Jules can get there. Lamas steps out onto the dojo floor and stands alone in the center of the room. Slowly men start appearing in the doorways, and just like that, the fight is on. This is a great fight sequence. Hard contact, solid throws, and some very funny nut shots. And not a single clean hit lands on Lamas. The goons eventually escalate to melee weapons, which somehow makes the fight even better. It goes on long enough that the head goon who Lamas knocked out earlier actually wakes back up and decides he wants another round. He does slightly better this time, but still ends with Lamas overpowering him and throwing him into a table full of candles.
Wax off.
With everyone down, Lamas finally takes a second to catch his breath, just in time for the final dojo boss to appear. The guy steps out holding a sword in each hand like he's been waiting for his cue the entire time. Lamas throws out a few cheap taunts and the fight continues. This time Lamas actually starts losing. He manages to grab a sword and a shield, and now the fight feels even more evenly matched. The sound effects here are surprisingly solid. The clashing swords and shield hits actually sell the impact. Lamas takes a slash to the gut and sees his own blood, which is apparently all the motivation he needs.
Nobody makes me bleed my own blood. Nobody!
He rallies, finishes the fight, and then grabs a photo off the wall of a bar for later reference, and then he casually walks out to his car like none of this just happened. Jules sees him leave and follows him back to his hotel. She shoots a maid to steal her key card, because guns in this movie are apparently completely silent to everyone except the audience. Lamas is in the bathroom patching up his sword wound when he notices the shadow of a gun on the wall. He kicks the bathroom door into Jules, rolls away, returns fire, then jumps off the balcony into the back of a truck. And that's when the cops show up and arrest him. Where did they come from? No idea. Jules searches the hotel room and finds Lamas' tattoo sketch, complete with the wheelchair guy's address. She calls Goss from the car and tells him about the wheelchair guy's involvement and that Lamas got away. Again. Goss calmly says he'll deal with the wheelchair guy himself and orders Jules to stay on Lamas. Back at the wheelchair guy's house, we suddenly get a surprising amount of backstory for him and the kid. He's tutoring the kid, trying to help him get into college, apparently the first one in the neighborhood to have a shot. It's earnest, sincere, and very clearly telegraphing what's about to happen. He sends the kid out to the store for something, and at this point we all know the deal. There is zero chance this man is still alive when that kid gets back. Right on cue, Goss arrives. He wastes no time, flipping the wheelchair guy out of his chair onto the floor. The guy starts dragging himself towards a shotgun, but he doesn't make it that far. Goss stops him, picks him up and pins him against the door, and then stabs him. Efficient, brutal, message received. Meanwhile, at the police station, Lamas is being questioned by the cops. They tell him to take the next flight back to Boston or they'll charge him with obstruction. That's the official warning. Do not get involved. Please leave the movie. Back at the house, the kid returns and finds the former wheelchair guy still on the floor, dying from his stab wound. With his last breath, he manages to say one word, Goss. Then he dies. Sad music swells and the kid cries over him. And it's honestly a little wild. This C-plot side character gets more emotional weight than Lamas' brother and sister-in-law combined. At the so-called secret location where the police are hiding Sarazen's remaining partner, Goss, Jules, and the final goon arrive and start prepping for another hit. Goss stealth kills one guard with a crossbow, which immediately raises the question, why are we being quiet? Because seconds later, the other goon fires a gas grenade through the window, and Jules just starts blasting everyone in sight. So yes, this was technically a stealth mission for about 10 seconds. Eric Goss clearly selected stealth in the multiplayer lobby, then it immediately went full Leroy Jenkins. Leroy Jenkins! But it works. Everyone inside is murdered. Later, back at the hotel, the wheelchair guy's student and his friends show up looking for revenge. They confront Lamas in the parking lot, blaming him for the wheelchair guy's death. They tell him that his last word was Goss. Lamas explains that he's after the same guy. If they go after Goss themselves, they'll get ripped apart. Then he gets in his car and drives off. So naturally, the boys follow him. Lamas heads to the bar from the photo he grabbed at the dojo and starts asking questions. Unfortunately for him, one of Goss's goons is in the back room and does not appreciate the attention. He and a few others jump Lamas and start beating him up until the boys burst in and save him. Lamas recovers and then walks the goon outside, cuffs him and throws him in the boys' van. And if I remembered correctly, the bounty poster earlier said that guy was worth about 25 grand. Not bad for a night's work. In the back of the van, Lamas and the boys start questioning the captured goon about where Goss is hiding. This movie, like many before it, decided that Russian roulette is the most efficient interrogation technique. And to be fair, it works. The goon immediately gives up the location. Lamas drops him off at the police station, collects his bounty check, and says he's donating the money to a youth center in the wheelchair guy's name, which is either genuinely a decent gesture, or Lamas has fully committed to becoming a part-time life coach. Lamas and the boys head out to Goss's trailer, only to find it completely cleaned out. No surprise there. With no other leads, they return to Wheelchair Guy's house, where the boys finally snap. They're angry, frustrated, and blame Lamas for everything that's happened. Lamas responds the only way a direct-to-video action hero can, by making them breakfast burritos and giving them a heartfelt talk about hope, choices, and alternatives to gang life. And honestly, it's weirdly sincere. While they're eating, they catch a news report that Jerry Greco has been killed and that Sarazen has been released due to the loss of the last witness. Everything has officially gone wrong. Lamas realizes that with Sarazen free and Greco dead, Goss will now want to collect his payment. That means a meetup is coming, so Lamas and the boys head to Sarazen's house. One of the boys hides in Sarazen's car trunk with a walkie-talkie.
Great plan.
And as Sarazen drives off to meet Goss, The kid radios the direction and location while the others follow. Eventually, the car turns into a junkyard and hits a pothole. The trunk lid slams shut, cutting off the kid's view and trapping him inside. No escape, no visuals. Saracen and his man get out of the car and meet with Goss. They hand over the diamonds and Goss starts inspecting them. That's when one of the goons overhears Lamas trying to reach the kid on the radio. The goon opens the trunk, finds the kid, and drags him over to Goss and Saracen. An argument breaks out, gums come out, bullets fly. The kid manages to escape as Jules and Goss kill everyone else at the meet. Jules grabs the kid again and brings him back to Goss. Goss takes the radio from him and calmly starts talking directly to Lamas, telling him exactly where they are and inviting him to come see him. As Lamas and the boys pull up to the junkyard, one of Goss' goons immediately opens fire. Everyone bails out of the van and scatters into the yard as bullets start flying. It's full-on chaos with our heroes ducking and weaving between rows of stacked cars. Jules somehow manages to get the drop on Lamas and has him dead to rights, but her gun misfires. Convenient. Lamas grabs her, starts to cuff her, and then she kicks him. Instead of continuing the arrest, Lamas just boots her across the junkyard and knocks her out. Problem solved. One of the boys takes out the remaining goon with a shotgun blast, and now it's just Lamas and Goss left. But Goss yells out, taunting Lamas to show himself, and then he reveals his leverage. The kid is locked inside a car that's sitting in a car crusher. Goss flips the switch, slowly raising the stakes. The boys rush to rescue the kid while Lamas opens fire on Goss for a distraction. And of course, Jules is suddenly not as knocked out as we thought. She pops back up and starts shooting at the boys. Lamas handles that problem with a single bullet, and the boys manage to pull the kid out of the car just in time. Now it's finally down to Lamas and Goss. The fight starts and it's everything you want. Goss throws Lamas around like a rag doll, at one point nearly smashing his head into a set of exposed bolts sticking out of the back of a truck cab. That near miss clearly flips the switch. Lamas rallies, starts landing clean shots and knocks Goss to the ground. Goss grabs a metal pipe and comes out swinging, but Lamas blocks it easily, unloads a series of kicks to the head and sends Goss straight into those same bolts.
No, you're gonna die, bounty tracker!
Head impaled, fight over. And the best part, that movie actually set that up earlier. Beautiful. Lamas walks away. He and the boys leave the junkyard, and the movie appears to end with Lamas visiting his brother and sister-in-law's graves, placing flowers and quietly paying his respects. But wait, there's a second ending.
But wait! There's more!
Lamas is back in the neighborhood visiting the boys, who explain that with the bounty money he gave them, they're opening a youth center in the wheelchair guy's name. And then we have one of the cheesiest lines in the movie.
Hey, man. I'm kinda in some trouble, and I heard you could get some help here.
Yeah, man. You want to talk to that guy right there? His name's Tony.
Tony?
Okay.
Thanks a lot, man.
Cut to black. This is a great movie. The fight scenes are solid, Lorenzo Lamas is excellent as always, and Matthias Hues is an absolute blast as the villain. The kid's subplot is definitely odd and sometimes wildly tonally inconsistent, but it does add a surprising amount of heart, even if it is delivered in the most early 90s cliche way possible. This is exactly the kind of direct-to-video action movie that Rewind was made for, and honestly, I don't think I would change a thing. If you enjoyed this movie, hit like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you thought of Bounty Tracker. Did the kid's subplot work for you, or did it feel like it wandered in from a completely different movie? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Hold up. Hey.
You think this is about money to me?
Get out!
Get him!
Oh! Hey!
I got you. Happy to be of service.
Flash ever gonna dig your ass now, baby? Just a little dab will do you? You're on your way to the Goofy Hall of Fame.
That's a nice piece of work there.
That'll have mamas. Had some of my best customers. You wouldn't believe where I put some tattoos.
I can imagine.